Okay, so let's talk about why this human experimentation that's happening to me goes a lot farther than dealing with the situation, not dealing with the situation, but dealing with it. What it's doing is it's dangerous in that it doesn't want to be labeled. The U.S. will not label these things what it should be. You could call it a trial, but they won't label it a trial. You could call it an experiment, but they won't label it an experiment. You could call it a torture, trying to break a whistleblower, which is what it is, okay? But they're not labeling it anything, or if they are, it's something very benign. You have to watch out for the way that they're using language, because likely they're trying to absolve themselves of any misdoings, but they completely are at fault here. Now, in the case that this is a trial, which it could be accurately described as a trial, you can call it unofficial or not. First of all, why are things allowed to be unofficial? Why do you get to make up kangaroo court? Why do you get to do that? And they're feigning that this is a democracy. This is a democratic move because you're being judged by a jury of your peers. No, I'm not. I'm not being judged at all. Who you're saying that I am is being judged. So it's fascist in that these aren't my peers. These are hired fascists to come surround me and skew your view on me, and so the vote is a fraud. I didn't say half the. If this were an election, how fair would it be if the opponent was speaking on behalf of what the other one said, and that's the voice that you got? Oh no, really they feel this way about the issue. I mean, then clearly the other one's gonna win, right? Clearly, if they're sitting there and they're only the one that's deemed credible enough to represent what's going on, then they can say whatever and make you not vote for them, for example. Okay, so if it's a vote, this is not how a vote is done. If it's a trial, it's not a trial. Why? Well, it is a trial. I'm being penalized as if it were a long trial. Worse. Why? Well, I'm not being presented with evidence. I don't get a lawyer. I couldn't even get a lawyer. If I even had the money, I couldn't go get a lawyer because you're actually blocking due process. Why? And tell them what? The U.S. government's out to get me, and then they look at me blankly and go, no, they're not, because I'm not allowed to say that they are. You're blocking my ability to even have a trial. So why is that right? For example. Right. Okay. The other thing is when you are convicted of something, even if before you are convicted, if you're arrested or being blamed for something prior to arrest, which this would be, you are deemed innocent before you are deemed guilty. That is not, they are doing the opposite of that. Everything that I'm being punished for, and yes, it's punishment, comes from a place where they're saying that I'm guilty before innocent. You don't fact check anything. You just listen to everyone else is automatically right and I'm automatically lying. So what does that mean? Well, it means that this is not a fair. Anything I say, you guys will fact check or try to discredit in some way. Some yahoo will come up and have a say. Okay, so the advantage is clearly to my opposition. They get to hear everything on both sides. They get to know exactly what. I don't get anything. I don't get to hear the evidence. I don't get to hear the accusations. I don't get to have a lawyer. This is a bullshit trial. And I'm deemed guilty before innocent. And it's, even though it says kangaroo court, the consequences are dire and the same. I either get killed, that's what's happening. I don't get a doctor. I get persecuted. Possibly arrested if what you're saying adds up, or they can make it seem like it does, or I get stuck in a loony bin. So though it's kangaroo official court, the consequences are still the same for me, and they are just as serious and dire as they would be on a real trial. So I'm confused as to why it's allowed to have kangaroo court. Now think about it this way. If this were a precedent to handle all whistleblowers, which is what I am, how comfortable would you be? You're comfortable because maybe you heard all these things about me. But think about it as unraveling the very fabric of the Constitution and American rights. Oh, and really any form of democracy in the world. Think of it as completely unraveling the concept that those are based on. So now make it a precedent to say, anyone that steps forward and accuses a group or a cult or the NWO of anything will have to go through this process. Are you comfortable right now? Are you comfortable? Has maybe a friend of yours ever talked about the Illuminati? Have you ever? Have you maybe turned on a program and seen someone that you like, or don't, but talk about the Illuminati? Are you concerned that the punishment should be what I got? That they should be, this is the parallel I just made, it's bugged, so perhaps you heard it. What I'm going through is like this. It's like being trapped in a snow globe. My entire world and everybody's ability to communicate me is on the outside of that snow globe. I can't see out, they can see in. I'm sitting there aware that everyone's gawking at me for 3 fucking years, being like, SOS? And some yahoo comes in and erases it. Oh, it's OSO now. And then I have to go and rewrite it, and it's just the daily of this. That's torture. That's absolutely torture. So you're saying, you're sitting there presupposing or pretending you don't know that what you're doing, and I'll make more tapes on why it's torture, and we'll get into that later. A punishment for someone that's innocent. And your excuse is, well, we don't want to reward a liar. Now, at some point, there was probably, is there a panel? Is that right? Is it the UN? Is it an American panel? Okay. At some point, someone fairly reasonable might have suggested that possibly I shouldn't be living in these conditions, or should maybe be seen by a doctor, or shouldn't have my rights to privacy taken away, say, in emails or something. Okay. And you chose to ignore all of that. So what is that? You are, it's sort of like you 50-50 me without having it actually official. You've taken away all my human rights, my protections, you know, and it's like an unofficial loony bin. And I'm sitting here being monitored with clipboards. Why are you allowed to do that? So if it becomes a precedent, how comfortable are you with that? Why would you be uncomfortable that this would just be the way from here on out? Why? Because it seems like punishment. It seems like a threat. So just because it's happening to one person and you're comfortable with it, it's not really an excuse, because extend it to now this is just standard policy. Now when it becomes standard policy, you see that this is a punishment. This is a warning that you better never ever speak our name or speak up against anybody. Right. So it's not actually different just because it's only happening to one. Okay. So what they're doing is actually, it is fascism. It has nothing to do with the democratic process. And fuck, we're almost going into old laws, man. Habeas corpus shit. Like, really, really the fabric of American law and constitutional rights are being unraveled because reality TV is really in right now? No. No. I'm not in a loony bin. You can put the clipboards down. This is so inappropriate. I'm a person. I should have human rights and dignities. I am someone who falls under the protections of the Geneva Convention. I am a prisoner of war, and it either needs to be a trial or not, but right now it's not a trial, and it is a trial. And in every single way, if you look at every single facet of what I just said, I'm getting fucked over. Every single way. I don't get the benefits of a loony bin, presupposing that the food's alright, the beds are okay, which it wouldn't be. I don't get the benefits of a trial, knowing the evidence, hearing the testimony. And, you know, I don't get the rights of a human fucking being or anything. So, just some stuff for you to think about as I'm talking about why this is sheer Nazism. Oh, it was absolutely fascism under the guise of, well, Obama's a Democrat. Right, he also droned people for funsies.